This is the Instagram account of the San Francisco Chronicle, and most of their articles are behind a paywall. I am not quite sure how they expect people to pay for this or how they're even still in business, but whatever. My name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It helps me a lot. It costs you nothing. If you want to help me even more and spend a little bit of money, go ahead and buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued. It is on Amazon.com, and that link will be in the description. But the Chronicle says, for months, politicians and advocates have been sounding the alarm that San Francisco is failing homeless families, with new immigrants particularly vulnerable. So we remember that scumbag greaseball bang your wife Governor Gavin Newsom said in 2008, I believe, there was a 10-year plan to end homelessness in San Francisco.
Problem of those that are out on the streets that we define as homeless. We better solve the housing problem if we're going to have an impact. And that's why we established this framework, what we call a 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness in San Francisco.
And it's only got exponentially worse. But in this first paragraph of the caption, I'm not quite sure what they thought was going to happen. That the new immigrants, you mean the criminal illegals, were going to show up and they were going to be put up in fancy hotels and given food like in New York, or they were going to go to, Uncle Phil's house and put their Jordan 5s up on the coffee table. What did you think was going to happen? It goes on. Shelters are full. Wait lists for beds are longer. Families are sleeping in their cars, couch surfing, or in tents or separate from each other in various group shelters, advocates say. San Francisco supervisors are now urging Mayor London Breed, who of course is completely corrupt, to declare a state of emergency. It's always an emergency. It's always life and death. It never ends with these people. For immigrant families, you mean criminal illegals, you need to declare an emergency so that they can be put up in free housing and hotels, and you can totally ignore the American junkies that have been sleeping on the streets of San Francisco for many years in tents surrounded by a bed of needles under the Bay Bridge. But you gotta declare a state of emergency for the illegals. And I think, for the record, London Breed did actually declare a state of emergency to clean up the Tenderloin, which of course just gave her more money, and they didn't fix the problem. I'm sure, along with the $6.4 billion that scumbag greaseball bang your wife Governor Gavin Newsom got, is not gonna clean up or fix anything. But they need to declare a state of emergency for immigrant families to quickly scale up and fund shelter after a tense city hall hearing this week underscored the holes in the city's aid system. Breed's office said in a statement that the administration is working to address the rising number of families experiencing homelessness, but did not answer a question about whether it would consider declaring a state of emergency over the issue. So again, what were you hoping to get done? What did you think was going to happen? Right? I mean, is there that little foresight that when you allow thousands upon thousands of illegals, that there's going to be nowhere for them to go? And if they do go somewhere, they're going to have to commit crimes to maintain the jobs. And we've seen that, right? The illegals riding around on stolen scooters and using fake SSNs and, sharing Uber accounts. It's ridiculous. Oh, but look. Oh, there's a young mother and some little kids. We need to have a state of emergency. And do you think for one split second that anybody at the San Francisco Chronicle was going to take in migrants? Do you think that London Breed took in one migrant, or Nancy Pelosi, or scumbag greaseball Governor bang your wife Gavin Newsom? Did any of those people think for one split second that, oh, well, yeah, I guess we can put a couple of them up? Because I'm sure they have extra rooms and extra beds. But what's going on here? Why is this photo not loading? Oh, I mean, look, they do have good photographers, I guess. I mean, I'm not knocking the photojournalism of the Chronicle, but they are completely compromised. And here's another one. Outside of Waleed and Ray's Al Gahim's corner store at McAllister and 7th Streets, more than 100 people gather nightly. They pack the sidewalks on the backside of Civic Center Plaza, hawking stolen goods, dealing and using illicit drugs, talking with friends, and blaring music. Throughout the night, people from the crowd cycle in and out of Plaza Snacks and Deli buying chips, sodas, and coffee as well as glass smoking pipes and lighters, though the store's top-selling products, according to Walid, are milk and cereal. They then flood back into the crowd of people where most will socialize and enjoy their munchies until the early morning hours. City officials now want to hold store owners like the Al-Gahim brothers partly responsible for this scene, which replays night after night. Mayor London Breed on Tuesday will introduce legislation that targets corner stores like Plaza Snacks and Deli for perhaps unintentionally contributing to the drug market and late night crowds that instill feelings of fear in residents, according to her office. And they just want to find somebody else to blame. There was another mayor, or was it a governor? I forget, where they were blaming the gas stations, right? People were getting robbed at gas stations or something. So they're always to blame. And look, I could be of the opinion that maybe there are some dope dealers around this corner store, or even they're selling dope out of the corner store, but you've allowed that to happen. And now, rather than take the blame and try to clean it up yourself, you want to point the finger, never the thumb. And look, this clearly looks like a dope operation. The guy's sitting on a ladder. You know, I mean, it's a actual zombie apocalypse. And if you want to close the stores down, okay. I mean, sure, but it's not going to help. It's obviously not going to help, because this is everything $1. These are the problems that you created, and you want to blame the stores for partaking in your scam. It's the same thing with the PPP fraud, right? Like, they foisted a scam on everybody, and then some people say, oh, well, they're giving away money, I guess I'll go get some of that. And then, no, you can't do that. We're going to throw you in jail. It's absolutely ridiculous. More from San Francisco. This, of course, is me just highlighting some of the posts from the Chronicle if we needed a reminder of how bad things have actually gotten in San Francisco. And I'm sure it's arguably worse right across the bay in Oakland. But this one, they say, the first time Brandy Martin used the overdose reversing nose spray Narcan on her bulldog, Jack, he was just 4 months old. So the dogs are overdosing, and the dogs are using Narcan, but the Narcan is free for you, right? We can talk about all the backdoor deals and stuff. I mean, it's a win-win for the political class, right? You can get hooked on fentanyl, and, they're going to keep you right on the brink of death, and you're not going to complain about all of their corruption. But if you want to get off fentanyl, maybe, which you probably won't, then don't worry, the Narcan's free, because we closed the deal on that too. I panicked so bad, said Martin, who revealed that it took 3 rounds of Narcan before her dog became alert and began moving again. I don't think people always think about the dogs, but that stuff is just so toxic and so poisonous. Martin's experience reversing her dog's suspected opioid overdose is not unique in the Tenderloin. So this isn't a one-off, and they're admitting that. Dogs are poisoning themselves with fentanyl, and it's happening fairly regularly. According to dog owners in San Francisco's mecca for open-air drug markets, as the proliferation of fentanyl kills hundreds of people a year in San Francisco, some dog owners say their pets are also suffering from the crisis. San Francisco last year recorded 810 fatal accidental overdoses, the deadliest year on record. And when they cleaned it up just a tiny bit, they say, look, we fixed the problem. And then there's a whole lot of Honduran migrants who are flooding the streets with stuff, sending money back to Honduras and building absolute mansions. And when Mayor London Breed, who is completely corrupt, said it was largely the fault of the Honduran immigrants, the Honduran population, the activists got mad at her because that was racist for it to come out of the mouth of a black woman who looks like a claymation figure. But that's a completely different thing. And in a city where canines may outnumber children, people living in and around San Francisco's homeless encampments and drug users say their pets are also overdosing on fentanyl. Absolutely ridiculous. It's gotten so bad that it's not just, right? I mean, it's not just the people, it's not just the dope fiends, but the pets are also facing the issue of these corrupt politicians and dope dealers. But as we know, the criminal politicians breed criminal residents. And here's another one. Dozens of parking control officers picketed outside the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency's Van Ness Avenue headquarters Thursday afternoon to protest the city's plans to ramp up parking enforcement. So what were you guys doing? The parking officers, the meter maids, as it were, are now mad that they're going to have to do their job, maybe. SFMTA officials said earlier this month they would soon launch intensive parking enforcement sweeps across the city to deter unsafe violations for pedestrians and cyclists. The plan calls for deploying extra parking control officers in each of the 11 supervisorial districts in the city on a rotating basis. The parking control officers tasked with issuing citations are revolting against the plan to ramp up enforcement because the sweeps are set to happen at a time when officers say they're facing increased aggression and threats of violence from upset drivers. So what were you guys doing, right? Okay, so I guess you were doing enough work to realize that it was dangerous for you to be writing tickets and putting boots and all that stuff. But now when the city says, we want to do that because it might help us clean up some of the other crime, the parking officials are angry about it. I mean, it gets no worse than this. It's an absolute dystopian hellscape. It's complete madness where nobody wants to do anything. And unfortunately, it's already gone. You're trying to put a broken glass back together. And I always say that if they did everything right yesterday, it would still be a decade-long cleanup. And here is the last one. After years of planning, lawsuits, and fundraising, the most significant new hospital in San Francisco for decades is finally getting underway. And this is them breaking ground on a UCSF campus. And we know now some of the pro-lifers are very angry with the UCSF organization because they may or may not be dealing in, aborted baby parts or whatever. Who knows what scams these people are actually running? And it's crazy to think that I would venture that they are doing worse than anybody could actually imagine. I mean, this is cartoon level Batman villain stuff. And of course, you got Scott Wiener, who is the creepiest man in all of American politics, Crypt Keeper Nasty Pelosi, and Batman villain herself, London Breed, a bunch of, surrounded by a bunch of other bureaucrats, because they are going to break ground and give healthcare to everybody. And I can only imagine the amount of schemes and scams and backdoor deals that went into creating this medical campus. The $4.3 billion expansion of UCSF's Parnassus Heights campus, centered around a new hospital to be completed in 2030, will expand the medical institution's vast footprint and workforce, cementing its outsized role in San Francisco's economy and booming health sector. Debatable. I don't know if it's a booming health sector, right? They're just going to tell you that, you have to wear a mask or you're going to die, and make sure to cut the junk off your kids. At a ceremony Saturday afternoon attended by House Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi, California Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, Mayor London Breed, and other dignitaries, UCSF Health Chief Executive Suresh Gunasarkan, formally broke ground on the project, which he said will be the largest hospital in the city by beds, operating rooms, and total emergency room space. The new hospital will provide the most advanced healthcare, right? The most advanced healthcare, and these are arguably the very same people who are going to make sure that they can rip a little baby limb from limb if you choose not to have it. But of course, if you do choose to have it, you're going to want to make sure you slice them up after.
I'm not gonna get my dick cut off and sold to China, spend the rest of my life on a treadmill like this guy. What?
And that, according to these people, is advanced. It's just ridiculous. And make it accessible for everyone. Whatever this guy said. I highly doubt it. And this is, I believe, the reason for all of the other issues. The failed parking enforcement, the fentanyl dog overdoses, the zombie apocalypse market, and the the homeless migrants are all happening because they're I don't know. I don't have it all in the bag, right? If I did, that would be a huge problem for the establishment. But those sort of weird backdoor billion-dollar hospital deals are why all of this is happening. And then they claim that, I guess they do. They throw you a couple crumbs, right? A safe injection needle site, and $200 a month to do dope on the street, because that is part of their plan to completely hollow out the middle class.